All right. Hey, good morning, YouTube. What's going on, everybody? See what we got going on today. Here's your weather situation as it may be. I don't have a situation. It's just clear skies. It's been like that for like 2 weeks. It's like people are trying to keep summer around here or something. But there's definitely some storms going around out there for the rest of y'all. If you're in the northern half, looks like there's a little bit of snow and such things going on out there, especially in Canada. There's some big old snowstorms coming in, it looks like it's almost winter. So it's going. We got Dad on YouTube. How's it going? Good morning. Walter Davis is with us. Alicia has joined us. Good morning. No snow in Utah yet, or what? We're going to get left out of this winter, I think. Greetings from the windy, rainy. Hey, Delaware Patriot. Looks like the weather just left you and more to come the way it looks right here. So, yeah, there's the weather situation for everybody. Hope everybody's getting ready for a good weekend. Everybody recovers from their sugar rush from this week, sugar coma, whatever the case may be. But it should be a fun one. I get to roll our clocks back Sunday, right? Get to do that government thing where somebody decided that we'll just change our clock and that'll make things so much better. I'm not even sure how that worked. What were they thinking? So we get to roll our clocks back Sunday, don't forget, or Saturday night, Sunday morning. Depends on how you look at it. But moving on. What is going on? So we got this, still got this big caravan coming our way. The invasion force, as it is. Lots of angst about that. Military going to the border. It's been going all week. Everybody's talked about it. I find it interesting now. I guess they're suing the government. I guess this popped up overnight. Claiming a violation of rights. So they're suing the president's order that hasn't even violated them yet, I guess you would say. It's rather funny. But claim a violation of constitutional rights, which I guess I'm not sure what that right is. They claim that they have the right to free citizenship. They have a right to, I mean, nothing's even happened yet. So it's more the sideshow on that. So they're filing a class action lawsuit that was filed yesterday against the president, Homeland Security, and others, claiming a violation of due process. And 12 Hondurans, including 6 kids, are listed as plaintiffs in the lawsuit. The suit was filed in D.C. District Court. Claims that the Plaintiffs' Right to Administrative Procedures Act and the Declaratory Judgment Act were infringed upon. So they're saying you have to let them in so they can go through due process. You can't just not even let them into the United States. Is that what they're claiming? This is just becoming a joke. Or they're making it laugh. They're just trying to find ways to get people to tug at their heartstrings prior to. I mean, if it's a class action, why doesn't it represent all 7,000? Why is it only representing these 12? I would say probably because the rest of them don't want to be named by name because they plan on coming in here illegally and exiting illegally. Might be the reason. This summer, a judge rejected a request by the administration to allow for longer family detention. I'm down. Immigrants who are seeking asylum must be referred for a credible fear interview, for which an asylum officer would determine if the immigrant has a credible fear of persecution, the lawsuit said. If the officer makes that determination, there is a significant chance the asylum seeker will be granted asylum according to the suit. Still, they haven't applied for asylum, so what are they complaining about? So they're saying their process rights are being violated just by actions on the border? Oh, goodness. Lawyers. You can't get rid of them. You can't kill them. So that came up overnight. Hey, we got Wes S. is with us. Good morning, Wes. And Castaway, how's things down under there? Alicia brings up that the U.S. did sign off on a UN accord concerning bringing in migrants on a regular basis. So maybe they'll contact the UN. The UN's already made a couple statements that we can't stop them, I think, that we have to accept them in. Say, bring it. This, Dad says that's what he's hearing also, mostly young men. I think it just goes off the videos and pictures you see you have to decipher. I mean, a lot of the anecdotal pictures they'll try to frame with just young children or women in them, but when you look at the back, larger pictures, like even this picture of people getting in trucks, here in the foreground is some women and children. These are all males on the left side here. And this straight ahead, if we could zoom in, looks to be predominantly males. Interesting, they're flying a Canadian flag. That's interesting. So maybe they'll just push on through, and I don't know. I couldn't imagine a Honduran going into Canada in the middle of the winter. I don't know if that would work out well for them. But it is a different mix. It's not all families, that's for sure. There seems to be a large majority, I would say, are males, considering when you break down the populations, split of what, 53% female. There's probably about 75% male of this thing. So that's the new article that just popped up. But also follow YouTube channel. The Sexy 702 Latina did a couple of videos this week with a border crew working down on the Southern California border. And a couple of just talks about what they're doing down on the border and asking for assistance. This gentleman, the audio is really windy and kind of hard to hear, so I thought I would talk through it. But they're down in Campo, California, and just talking about here how it's out in the distance. Nobody else is here. They could use some assistance, so he's calling for assistance and a little help to, in particular, what they're seeing is that people are rushing the border now because they know that the military and others are coming soon. So that is their concern, and what they're seeing is it's not like the wave is waiting to happen. It's happening now because of the movement by us and the president's actions have caused a big push by people to get across that are intending to. And he was talking about how they, in another video that she put out, of how they could use, how they work with Border Patrol to radio things in and whatnot. But they're seeing a big push already. It's already a problem. They don't have to wait for 10,000 people to get there. The people that are staged across the border are already pushing through, I guess you would say. HRM Weapons Machinist, what's going on? What a story. Well, the lawsuit, you figure, is BS, but they're going to use it to try to gain an advantage of some sort, I would imagine. Yeah, Wes, I wouldn't get too excited about that. Wes says he hopes one of them throws a rock. I don't know that you would know. The after effects of that, I think, could get pretty interesting in my theory. If my theory holds up, I don't know. Maybe it won't come to that, but we shall see. I think the internals of this country couldn't handle what would come after, or it'd be just really bad. I mean, we could handle it, I think, but it'd just be, we'd get some LA riot situations going on if something happened on the border, I think. Delaware says they would have to be on our side for the rock throwing. Pretty sure shooting across international boundaries would not go over well. Well, that's one case too. That's a good point. Where exactly the altercation takes place could be a issue. Dad just assumes it's a bunch of young dudes hide behind a few women and children. That's that was the accusation even before they went into southern Mexico and they came across from Honduras. They were concerned that they were just going to put all the women and children up front and have an incident down there, which they had some incidents, but they were afraid that was going to be the agenda from the beginning, was that they were going to do something like that to propagandize the whole thing. Maybe the children just don't want to have no part of that. I mean, there's probably lots of people in this group that legitimately have very few options and are just trying to find an option, but considering they've been offered refuge in Mexico and Guatemala, right? And I've just said, no, we're going to continue to travel thousands of miles with no funding and no food, and everything is laughable at that point. It's they want to have it their, just like a typical teenager, they want to have it their way. If Wes, yeah, well, Wes and Delaware talking ROEs here, but it doesn't matter how it goes down. My biggest thing is if it happens that any of these immigrants are harmed by troops on our side, on U.S. troops, through fire. I mean, granted, they could be roughed up or something otherwise, but if there's an altercation of that type, I think we could see the LA Rodney King riots times 30 or so after the fact. That would be what we should be walking out for. I commented on Fourth Dimension has been following this along and doing videos about it pretty much every morning, mixed in with his other stuff. But he was talking about this, and I just said on his video, the thing we got to remember is the invasion force is already here. We have decades of unacclimatized is not the right word. Unindoctrinated is the wrong word too. I haven't drank enough coffee yet this morning. We have decades of immigrants and refugees and asylum seekers and illegal immigrants and everybody else that have come into this country unassimilated. That's the word. Who will burn places down if people like that,
if that kind of incident happens. Coupled with Antifa and what they've been trying to start, I think the riots could get very bad. Now, it'll be manageable probably, yes, but I wouldn't want to be behind enemy lines in like Portland, San Francisco, these places that have already had problems. Should something like that go down where one of these people in this invasion force gets injured or killed, it could get bad in those places, I think. That's just me looking at it from 10,000 foot viewpoint, if that did go down like that. But anyway. HRM says North Carolina ballot has a bunch of harmful state constitutional amendment decisions. Is that right? Okay. We had a bunch of, we had a few, I think we had like 3 constitutional type amendments involved this year. About 3 other ballot questions, something like that. They weren't totally significant. One was about one was about solar power. Another one's about deregulation of energy. Another one's about feminine hygiene products. I don't know. They're not earth-shatteringly important overall. But hey, if you didn't see, of course, snap. Wes says if they really wanted asylum, they were offered it, so their claims are false, right? You would think that would be, I don't know how that would go over an international, in the eyes of the international community. I think it's one of the big concerns from this point on there, Wes. But you could point to that and go, like, Mexico offered them asylum, they denied it, and they turned it down. They must not be refugees anymore. I don't know, Delaware, luring them onto a plane to get them back across the South. I don't know if that'll work very well. That'd be a lot of planes too for 10,000 plus people. So we're wondering how these people are getting across multiple countries, thousands of miles, when you got people that are funneling campaign cash for the Democratic Senate candidate out of Texas and funneling his money into helping these people out. It kind of makes sense. At least this is what was caught on tape. You can imagine what's happening behind the scenes. So Project Veritas doing yeoman's work out there once again under the radar and pulling out another gem with somebody within the Beto O'Rourke campaign, which he's got a real name, but that's what he uses for Robert Francis. That's his real name. There you go. Robert Francis O'Rourke, who goes by Beto because nobody wants to know how white he is. That, yes, he is Irish. But those came out last night. If you missed them, they're all over his page. This article's on Zero Hedge about it. But basically a lady goes in there and talks to the campaign, and they just talk about how they're getting food and transportation for different migrant groups using campaign money as they come across to take them different things. Now, James talks about it at the end of this video, which is 23 minutes, the primary video, which is in the description box below. James talks about how they're not sure if these were funds going to illegal or legal migrants, but either way, they're funneling, basically, it's essentially money laundering through the campaign to do these things and illegally using campaign cash for this. They talk about using prepaid cards and things like that for a lot of this activity. They're using campaign rented vans and stuff, and they just all on camera. It's some pretty awesome stuff. Once again, showing the communists will not slow down their subversion, if you know what I mean. But definitely go check those out if you want to see how these people get, different groups get support, quote unquote, once they get here. At least who knows what money's going over the border. You can imagine to help them out as they come up. If this is happening on this is just El Paso, I believe, is the field office for his campaign, and it's just they'll go to no ends. They even talk about it, how they don't care. But that's definitely a good video worth. Hey, Practical Outdoors is with us. Good morning. Rooster Cogburn's with us. Good morning. Snuck in up there. Wes S says, I'm sure that they want the Army to be forced to fire. Then we would explode, right? Or implode. They really want things to escalate. Right. And that's a good point, and that's a good big concern. The escalation of everything, the further polarization of everybody against everybody else. That's a big concern. That it'd be better if nobody got shot. It would be better for the big picture. But obviously somebody needs to defend themselves. So Practical Ben out of shape joined us. Good morning. Powers be pushing agendas. Divisive agendas at that. Divisive agendas. All right, Delaware Patriots out of here. Have a good one. Have a good day. That was a good video last night. I liked your answers to the Series 6 there, Delaware. Castaway says, when you see protesters having to be carried out, kicking and screaming, what is going to be like in 6 months? It is, yeah, right. The fall is usually kind of a downtime for this type of action. Rooster talking about how bad things are in San Francisco, like the rest of us didn't know. Don't you know, Rooster? That's why we don't go to San Francisco. All right, so that's the border situation kind of run down. A couple of new things popping up. Again, this link to this video Project Veritas did is in the description box, along with the Zero Hedge link about their undercover actions they've pulled out, I guess, in the last week or so, you figure. But you can imagine if the caravan hits Texas, they're going to have tons of support like that. Or the invasion force, as I like to call it. So if you got an opportunity to volunteer down on the border, there's a video about a group that does that down there as well. If you're nearby, at least in California. And I'm sure there's tons of others out there as well, if you want to go check those out. What else is going on? So we might be getting a trade deal with China. Came up yesterday, which made everybody happy in some respects. So all the markets and everything were doing good on that. But Zero Hedge came up with an article that I guess overnight China said not so fast. And I guess this tweet came out first thing this morning that they got on this Zero Hedge article. Senior administration official tells him that a report that Trump is ready to cut a deal with China is not true. There's a long way to go on negotiations, they said. So everything kind of put full stop on that. It seems like everything's just trying to stay afloat long enough to get through the election cycle. On the economy side, it's hard to tell what's going on with all that. But on the economic side, you got some good job numbers coming out, low unemployment, most job participation ever. Well, not ever, I don't think. What did it say over here? Where did that just came out? Now they changed the headline. Maybe it was on the Drudge. We have a record 156 million employed, et cetera, et cetera. They're still hiring up here at Tesla and Panasonic. I know that. If you wanted a job, come to Nevada, or at least northern Nevada. I don't know what they're doing in Vegas. I wouldn't tell anybody to move to Vegas. Don't do that unless your life depends on it, unless it's absolutely necessary. So that's what just came out there. It wasn't on the CNBC. I thought it was. But the report overnight on that was that there was no trade deal, and that caused everything to hit. But there's been no follow-up this morning, it doesn't look like. And everybody's continuing to march on. So maybe that was just a blip on the radar a few hours ago. Because everything, markets, where's JJ at? JJ's our resident stock market watcher when it comes in here, but we're supposed to be up in the morning because of all these trade deals and these job numbers, et cetera, et cetera. Check that out. Hey, good morning, Berrywood. What's going on? Looks like it's a little wet up your way. We were seeing this morning. What did we hear about Trump yesterday, Rooster? He's always saying something. Castaway says good chance there's a server hack on election day. What you have to worry about is that there's a virus already in the computers. They're not all hooked up to a server. That's not the way the electronic voting machines work, at least not in a majority of states that I've looked at. The voting machines, while they are electronic, they're not hooked into the net. Only when they're brought back to a central facility and before they go out are they hooked into any type of computer mainframe or computer system or server. So if a virus got in to be operable on like the election day is the only way that could happen, because they're not hooked up to anything actually when they're voting. But things can be put in there. When they did the Black Box voting video years ago, they showed how things could be manipulated through electronic voting. That's some scary stuff. But record employment for the 12th time under Trump. The economy is the second most important issue, yada, yada. Very good economic news on today by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. The number of employed Americans has never been higher, but our population has never been higher either. So, take it for what it's worth. Unfortunately, the number of employed men was up, so I'm sure the left is irate about that because all the men should be unemployed and giving all their jobs to the women. Right, Alicia? The angst can be heard from the left as we speak. Also, the record number of women aged 20 and up set a record. Well, there you go. So everybody's equally benefiting, potentially, at least according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics. The Hispanic unemployment rate at 4.4% has never been lower. The unemployment rate for African Americans at 6.2% remained near all-time low. That was 5.9% that was set in May. We supposedly added 250,000 jobs. I need one of those jobs. Anybody got a new job for me? Always looking for opportunities instead of dead ends like we're So they break down the unemployment rates. This is a CNS News article breaking down all the numbers that come out. So the number they use here, here's how they define it. The nation's civilian non-institutionalized population, consisting of all people aged 16 or older who are not in the military or an institution, reached 258 million. So that's the population they put into this statistical breakdown to get their numbers. Of those, 162,637,000 participated in the labor force by either holding a job or actively seeking one. So that's the numbers they use to determine the labor force. Non-institutionalized population and also not in the military or an institution who are seeking a job or hold a job. I've always kind of wondered that. What does they determine is the labor force? So that's the latest statistics they're using. HRM says we don't need China's import addiction. That's interesting. China was talking about in one of the articles that they're going to become an importer. They're trying to promote themselves as an importer of goods, obviously because they have one of the world's largest potential consumer bases, I guess you'd say, when they have, I don't know what, 1.2 billion people or whatever. They're trying to promote themselves as a consumer economy that can import goods and services. Yeah, Wes, I would never vote straight ticket. That's just foolishness. That's rewarding abusive husbands voting straight ticket. And well, I guess that's right. Your judge is a little bit different out there, I guess, Wes. But your judges are partisan offices in Texas, because the judge is like the highest position in a county in a lot of places. In the way a lot of politics works out there, right? It's like the head county commissioner or something position. The judges are. It's a lot different than a lot of places the way they work. Remember, somebody was talking about, I can't remember what it was, talking about the power of judges in Texas, and just they are like the central point of a lot of the rural counties in particular. Obviously, the urban areas are a little different, but county judge in a rural county is like the top dog, is the way it was kind of explained to me. Now, Wes, there you go, Dad. Dad has a good idea. Dad says you got to register them goats to vote. Now, if I could register my goats to vote, I'd have no worries. Yeah, Wes, we need to figure that one out. If we can get the goats to vote, we could have a political monopoly running around here. You know what I'm saying? Oh, in Turkey news, looks like we've lifted our sanctions on Turkey, and the Turkish currency is up. Interesting. Because remember a month ago we were talking about Turkey undermining NATO and all kinds of other issues out there. I haven't checked in on Venezuela in quite some time. Still waiting for the invasion of
Venezuelan refugees that still apparently hasn't hit when there's full-on collapse going on there. The Brazilian elections went down. We talked about Bolsonaro earlier in the week.
The judges you voted for, Wes, were state level judges, not the county level, but they're the ones that run stuff. Okay. Go back over to the Drudge, see what's coming up. So everybody's going to be talking about the unemployment and the economy today, I'm sure, on your daily drive or in the news you're going to see today. There's going to be a lot about that economic news, I'm sure. We'll see how they try to keep the refugee thing front and center on this whole suing thing, on this whole lawsuit thing. I don't know how the Democrats are saying they're going to control the House, but that's what the big news is out, is that that's going to happen, which is just bizarre when you think about how bad things are. It's like, how is that possible? That people would actually vote for Democrats in this situation, but people are easily manipulated with feelings and stuff. A couple of older articles. And this is probably the most important one, which we've kind of talked about. The biggest concern of the strategic position of everything going on in Venezuela. This seems to be a American military magazine. Crisis driving Venezuela into the arms of China, which has been fairly well documented with Maduro going over to China and everything, and during the height of the crisis, and still coming back in one piece. And that's the oil situation. Oil's what matters, no doubt. There's also an article here on the Russian delegation going to China. Let's see what this is. So these are all look like South American papers or news outlets of some sort are in that realm. So just as we're worried about China and the South China Sea, they get in our back door down here, it's going to be a whole different ball game. Here we got Russian delegation to help Venezuela officials manage crisis economy. And this is as of today, yeah. Guests are supposed to offer advice on fiscal and monetary topics in order to support Russia's strategic ally in its fight against the financial crisis. This is according to a Bloomberg article as well. There's a Bloomberg link in here. HRM has 33 cats. That'd be your majority vote. If you get 33 cats to vote, good luck. We know how herding cats works. So the Russians helping out local officials in Venezuela. This past Monday, they met the vice president and the finance minister in Caracas. The officials were meant to discuss ways to rebuild the country's depleted reserves, cryptocurrency efforts, and other fiscal and monetary topics. Russia provided a lifeline in the form of $3.15 billion in debt rescheduling last year. It's like refinancing, basically. It's like pay your debt off in this new payment plan or something. The Russian central bank is preparing to make a $949 million bond payment. Or no, wait, the Venezuela bank is preparing to make a payment, which is backed by a majority stake in U.S. Citco Holding Incorporated. A non-payment on the bond would allow holders to lay claim to the valuable asset. Overall, Venezuela is behind on almost $7 billion in debt payments owed to investors. Because they nationalized all their holdings in the country, they got to pay for the bonds that those companies have also put out. So that's a catch-22 by the government there. But that's going on. Russia and China coming in through South America once again. Just waiting for, man, can't get out of our own way. Instead of dealing directly with things, we try to undermine them and cause a crisis that leads them to go to others for assistance. So what else is going on out there, folks? Anybody got any good stories in their news areas? We did have HRM says he'd get a life sentence in prison for registering 33 cats. I don't think anybody's went to jail yet for registering all these dead people in all these different places. I think they found dead people registered in Georgia and Texas and several other places so far. Wes says no opposition on the local level. It was set up. People signed up to run, then after a deadline, they dropped out. So you think there's a agenda there, Wes? They're signing up to make it look like there's a competitive races and they drop out so that nobody else can run against their buddies and stuff like that. So it's a scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type of situation. That's an interesting situation, Wes. I don't think that's some bad signs. So if you're going to run, you're going to have to make a political video, right? You're going to put it all over YouTube, Wes S for county clerk or something. Wes S is going to run the show. That'd be interesting. Especially put the goats to work. They could do a lot of public land cleanup, I'm sure, and stuff like that. You know, that's funny. But if you could continue to do projects like making your own, I almost said yacht. Making your own, what is that thing you made homemade? I can't remember. Homemade boats. I don't know. Whatever. I can't think straight. If you can have more, keep doing videos like that, you can run for whatever you want to, Wes. We don't care. Kayak, your homemade kayak you made there. My goodness. They all have the same ring on the finger. Oh, I would imagine that's probably not a college ring either, huh? Searching for any tidbits here to hiding out on us. Trying to cipher through stuff that's all over. Yeah, we all know. Everybody knows there's an election coming out. Whatever else is hiding under the radar is what I'm looking for here. England's going to play South Africa in rugby. That's it's on the headlines. Or is that soccer? Your barrel yak almost got you killed, Wes. It didn't look that bad. It was a pretty good looking setup. So potential trade deal with China has drawn up a lot of interest. Whether that would actually go through or not is a whole other thing. Let's refresh this, see if anything news popped up. Anything going on in the Twitter sphere? Twitter's always a good source for late breaking stuff, at least until you get a chance to cipher through what's going on. Some things are sometimes you have to just cipher through it to figure out if it's legit or not. Alicia's tweeting about the voter age being raised to 25. Oh, no, wait, lower to 16. What? Washington, D.C. could let 16-year-olds vote? Oh, goodness. That would not be a disaster at all. Can you imagine 16-year-olds voting? Really, Dad, do you think West should dye his beard black and get a Lincoln top hat? That's what it takes to get his vote? That's pretty superficial. Weapons cache. Where's this at? Weapons seizures. Or as we like to call them, a collection, and they call them where is Shirley? Shirley, Massachusetts. Uh-oh, behind enemy lines. Three Eyes is new. Shirley, Massachusetts, a man was arrested Tuesday after state police raided his home and seized nearly 100 illegal, quote, unquote, guns, silencers, and thousands of rounds of ammunition. Basically, all of our small collections that we might have. Jeffrey Dusty, 62, was ordered held without bail, pending a dangerous hearing on November 5th following his arraignment. He was charged with 47 counts, possession of a firearm without a license. See, licensing does lead to confiscation. 44 counts of possession of a silencer, possession of a loaded firearm without a license. Got to have a license to have a loaded firearm, a regular firearm, and ammunition, apparently. possession of ammunition, and possessions of a sawed-off shotgun. Sheer number of weapons is striking. They haven't been to Texas yet, have they? Yeah, Massachusetts. You're destroying yourself. Your founders would be ashamed, Massachusetts. Multiple shotguns, handguns, and other firearms were seized during a search of the home, as well as 35,000 rounds, which 35,000 rounds of 22 long rifle is nothing. That's like everybody's dream. That'd be a good start. 44 homemade silencers, which, how do you prove they're a silencer if they're homemade? Some of these are high capacity weapons, quotes. He was arrested Tuesday after a search warrant was executed. Now, how did he possibly justify a search warrant? When he was arrested, he had a loaded revolver in his jacket pocket. He does not have a FID card, or a firearms identification card, nor a license to carry. He had an open warrant on charges of assault and battery on a person over the age of 60. Witness intimidation and 2 counts of making annoying phone calls. He's got 2 counts of making annoying phone calls. That's funny. 11 of the firearms found during the search were licensed to a woman. She has not been charged, where her license to carry has been revoked. Yeah, but can only carry with permission of the state. So there's your anecdotal gun confiscation story of the day. So the guy's got a pretty good collection here. Nothing unusual. Bunch of old shotguns, wood finish, got a Tommy gun. Really, does he even, looks like a Benelli or a setup Mossberg. 1 AR. So I guess high capacity, quotes in quotes, are illegal in Massachusetts. But it looks like he's only got like maybe 6 or 7 of these are capable of extended magazines. The rest of them are pretty normal by Massachusetts standards, I guess you'd say. That's a shame. That's a good good setup going to go to waste there because of the state. So that's in your collapsitarian news, shared by Skip the Collapsitarian. 5 injured after terrorists opened fire on a bus carrying Coptic Christians heading to a monastery in Egypt. Breaking news. All right, folks, we're going to jet out of here. I guess that'll wrap it up for today. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for the comments. Bleach it and go red, white, and blue, says Wes. You're going to bleach your hair, Wes? Interesting. Wes is unopposed, running unopposed for emperor. He got 1 vote. Good job. A howitzer is low capacity, Dad. Exactly. Yeah, good point. Right, practical outdoors, 2 counts of annoying phone calls. It wasn't like communicating a threat or verbal intimidation or anything, just annoying phone calls. Apparently it's a thing in Massachusetts. You can't annoy people. You know, we should be able to charge just about every all these robocalls you get for voting this time of year. Shouldn't we be able to get that for annoying phone calls right now? I mean, like, seriously, talk about annoying. People that call you 3 times a day. Have you voted, or are you looking to vote? Who's your choice to vote for? Those are annoying. This guy probably just called and asked his refrigerator was running or something. A 4-gauge muzzleloader. Sounds like a good project, Wes. Exactly. Practical. They need to charge these robocalls. Exactly. Exactly. Dad on YouTube said he would get his vote. So Wes is going to run for emperor, and he's got 2 votes already. We need to get a counter opposition party against the Wes S regime. so we can counter his plan of tyranny and oppression of the masses. He's going to try and impose that Texas nature everywhere. We can't have that. All right, folks. Well, thanks for checking in. Thanks for hanging in. Thanks for the comments. Yeah, lower your credit card debt in Spanish, right? And mount your 4-gauge on your barrel yak. Okay. Wes is going to be a very liberal emperor. All right, folks. Have a good weekend if we don't see you between here and there. We'll talk to y'all later. Live free.